Hi, I'm sitting out in front of a McDonald's in between students. Still going long times in between making videos for the world because they're not really for the whole world and things aren't really changing that much. So this being to document how things are going, well, to be honest, they're not going very well, but it's okay. Everything's going to be okay. So I did the video however long ago that last one was where I mentioned that things are not great and that I was going back and forth on a lot of things that I couldn't quite figure out. So I do have that still. Don't want to repeat that phrase a million times like I did last time, but I am going back and forth on some things. One thing I didn't mention last time, and it was already happening back then, is I was taking some over-the-counter meds like I had not done in years before that. I'm just so symptomatic all the time, and I had gotten to relying, not all the time, but back and forth sometimes taking some over-the-counter meds. And it just wasn't going well enough, I guess. It was the way I was without them was terrible symptoms-wise, but with taking them, it turned out I was getting a pretty bad side effect. And for a long time, I didn't realize I was getting it, so it had been going on for a few months. Both of the over-the-counter medications I was taking at times can cause hair loss, and I was losing my hair. And this has happened so many different times over the years to me that I just thought, oh, my thyroid's all messed up, and I didn't connect it to those two medications. And at some point, it had occurred to me, I just thought, oh, this hair loss can be a side effect. I need to look into these things because I'm not all that rare that I'm taking them now. They're kind of almost getting regular. And turned out both of them could cause it. I had to make myself get off of using those, and I am still just symptomatic with a million different symptoms almost all the time anymore. So it's rough. It's really rough. A lot of sinus pressure problems and pain from the sinus pressure that have been happening in recent months. But that's the way it is. So I got off of them because I didn't want to lose any more hair. Lucky for me, I had so much hair to begin with when I was young that over the years, all the times this has happened, and I don't know if any of those times I've been recovering in between, but eventually it hasn't ever gotten as bad as some people get with their hair if they're losing it all the time or if they're losing so much. But it did get to where it bugged me tremendously. I can see my scalp in when I look, I can just see parts of my scalp, and most people can probably, but I had so much hair that I couldn't ever when I was, in the first 30 or 40 years of my life. Even when I was losing hair, I still couldn't see my scalp. Now at 55, I can see it every single time I look in the mirror. I can see a little bit of scalp, and it really bothers me. Like, you ought to be able to have a few things you like about yourself, and having really thick hair I had thought was a good thing, but it's gone now. Now I have much more normal hair, and there's a little bit of benefit, it turns out, because there's less of it. I can make it have a shape more instead of just being heavy and just hanging more straight. So it's easier to get a little bit of shape going with my hair now. But anyway, I wanted to have thicker hair again. It was really bothering me. So I've quit taking any over-the-counter meds for the stuff most of the time. I'm not even able to do it 100%. But I've gotten back to where my hair has quit falling out. There's not nearly so much falling out now. And I did end up getting sick a week or two ago, and I took NyQuil probably several days in a row, and it did not cause my hair to start falling out again, thank goodness, although it could have. You never know, since I seem to be the person that I'm just going to get that really easily with the way my body is. So for a while, I thought it would be thyroid, which I've dealt with before, that sometimes I'm not as high up as I should be with the thyroid numbers, and that's not what it was this time. So, anyway, besides the med thing, what else has been going on? Oh, I'm apparently not a patient with the free clinic anymore. They had requirements that I had to be being seen by someone who was just someone to talk to. And it's not that I was trying to rebel against that and refuse to do it. I did not think it was super helpful, but I was trying to have a good attitude about it, and it was just really hard to get in scheduling-wise. And then there would be confusing statements at times about, well, you need to do this next and before you do anything else. And I don't think they meant before you see the person that you have to talk to. But that would be where it would go in my mind usually. But anyway, and the regular doctor who diagnosed me doesn't see all the patients all the time. They had other people that see them. I suppose maybe it was a nurse practitioner. I don't 100% know. But anyway, I had one more appointment like that last summer before I had quit seeing them. And she had suggested, well, first of all, let me mention, she didn't like how high my fat levels are getting. I do better. And I can just tell symptoms-wise I do better on higher fat, and I heal more on higher fat, and that's been true across all the years. I got some really good years across my 40s. It's still true now while I'm super symptomatic. How I can do with my diet and feel about it and get results from it, I do better on higher fat. Even though I'm having all kinds of problems now, it's not healing nearly enough, but it's better than when I go lower in it. But anyway, she was upset about that, about how much fat I ate, and so that was kind of weird. And it wasn't that I was going to rebel against that either and quit seeing them, but she said, because she and I were discussing my diet and how much digestive issues I have, she had suggested that the next thing she wanted me to do was to see someone who's a GI specialist, and that they were blessed to have someone they were going to be able to schedule their free clients with some for that. And I thought, that sounds great, wonderful. But like I said, their scheduling was really hard to work with. For me, my schedule at work is such that I have to be with clients all the time, my students that I have to see when I have booked them from 2 to 4 to sometimes a year. I was going to say 2 to 4 months, but sometimes a year in advance. So when someone's on my schedule, I have to see them. And when I would try to book with this free clinic for these appointments, they would have a really hard time working with me and finding me times when it was a day they could see me that I could make available to them. And every time I would make something available and try to have appointments booked a little more in advance so it would be less difficult if I'd booked like a few in a row across a few months, to be like, we can't keep having it where we're getting up to it's only a few weeks away and I'm booking for next month, because I won't be able to cancel on students and there won't be any time that'll work. But when I would try to book it way in advance and just have a bunch of them lined up, it would never work. They would just always have changes and problems, and it just didn't happen. So anyway, I was having all these different types of scheduling problems, and some that I haven't even mentioned. And then she told me to book with their GI person. So I got back with their person, Anna, who's supposed to be the one that you schedule with, and that's always phone tag with them, which is okay and understandable. But it just wasn't working out. I don't know I couldn't even tell if it was just the phone tag that I was having trouble with or what. She just kept not having me scheduled with him, or I kept not getting in touch with her. I don't remember exactly what it was that was happening, but it was going weirdly. And there was a point in time that I had at least gotten to speak with her again, and I thought she and I had kind of left it as she couldn't schedule it right then while we were talking, and she would get back in touch with me later when she could. And then I forget how long, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, some amount of time went by. I don't really remember what range of time it was to even say between 2 and 4 weeks. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less, I don't know. But I thought I was waiting for her to get back in touch with me, and she didn't. And a couple of months went by. I think it was at least a couple of months. Again, with the brain fog and the memory problems I'm having, who knows if I'm telling y'all an accurate timeline here. But after some amount of time went by, I tried to contact her again, and we went through the phone tag for a while. And finally, when I got to talk to her, I said, I just wanted to check in if I'm missing out on seeing y'all when I should. And I thought the next thing I need to do is to see the GI guy that y'all thought you might be able to schedule me with, and let's schedule that if we can, if you were waiting on me to contact you or to do something else to get it scheduled. And I think I kind of irritated her. It's no big deal. We all have our bad days. It doesn't matter if she was irritated for a moment. It's not anything to hold against her or care about, but I think I kind of irritated her, and she was like, we're waiting on that because I told you that's on pause, that we can't schedule with him right now. I thought, okay. I just said, fine, cool. I forget how I said it, but I don't think I showed a lot of irritation in my voice. Hopefully I showed none. I don't know. And I just said, okay, just when you can, that'll be good. And left it again. And then you can't even believe how much time went by. My memory's bad to not be able to tell you exactly, but it's definitely been months and months. So I went all through the fall and the winter now. Well, we're in the winter right now. And I tried to contact them last month in December. Again, just to sort of check in and be like, well, it's been a really long time, and I didn't know if I should just be checking in with you about this. So I had to leave a message, like it always is there. And she never called me back. And after a few days that I didn't know if she should have called me back yet or not, because I never know when their current thing is, when I'm not in touch with them for a little bit. Are they on the same day of the week that they're going to be doing that? It's not real reliable. It seemed like, to know when to talk to them or to get a call back when you needed one. But anyway, a few days had gone by, and I wasn't worried about it yet, because I think they only really operate the free clinic one day a week. And I thought she might not be in yet. But anyway, then I got an email, which was not just directed at me. It was a sort of a mass email to everybody on their list that if you have not been seen in X amount of time, you are not considered a current patient, because you're supposed to be keeping in touch. And that they have so many people now that they can't really handle them all. And if you're not current, it would be hard to get back in. And then you have to go through whatever the process is to get back in. I was just like, okay, well, I don't know how to make them work with my schedule better. I don't know how to make the GI doctor part happen. I really did try. There was some, I think, spiritual warfare from Satan that was stopping me on the day that I did go see them. The time that they didn't demand it of me, but I chose to make the plan and take a couple of days off at work well, one day off work, and I was going to go see them and be there at their clinic because I thought that would make it more doable for me and my brain fog, and for just like on this day that I've allotted for this is when things will happen. And I was planning on getting what could have been some blood work done with them, and that didn't happen. It's a whole big long story that I'm not going to go into right now, but there was a really crazy thing with an extra thing, not from that clinic. It's not their fault at all. It has nothing to do with them, but other stuff that interfered in my day and gave me 1,000,000 pounds of stress. It was very difficult to deal with the rest of the day right after I saw them. It came up right before they saw me. I was in their waiting room when I got the news of something wrong. And I was all day long in a panic and rushing to try to deal with something where I wasn't even in town. I was down where this clinic is. That's not in the same town I live in. So I was a couple hours away from home, and then I had to rush and deal with this thing. I never got the blood work. It was like everything about trying to work with this free clinic was just never going to happen. And I know, I am certain there's spiritual warfare happening in terms of Satan wants me to be sick. Satan wants me to not be able to deal with things. Satan wants me to have this brain fog, etc., etc., etc. I got 1,000,000 things on the list, and I don't know how to get past it, so I just keep praying about it. And thus far, here we are. Right, again, I'm rambling on a video for minutes and minutes and minutes, and I don't know how to get past all of it. I have not had a miracle that's changed things financially, so I've not yet moved out into something that would be safer for me. I don't know how to get the blood work done. I've made some changes financially along the way that I was moving towards the things this clinic wanted me to do, even though I could never get the free blood work that could have happened in their same town. It's just unbelievable, and I can't, through the brain fog, say it all out correctly anyway. But that's just, God allows Satan to give us hardships and temptations, and I don't really know how long this one's supposed to last. So all I can do right now is keep praying about it and remember that God's timing is good. He's a good Father, and He is faithful to His promises, and He does care. He cares when we're sick. Doesn't always mean that we're going to get better. People don't always get healthier, but He does care, and He does pay attention. He does listen to us when we're crying out to Him about it, and so that's what I keep doing. I've been mostly off of over-the-counter meds, but whether I mentioned it a moment ago or not, I've took some NyQuil over the last couple of weeks because I got really sick with a extra bit of cold, not just the sinus pressure I've had all the time for months, but a real something going around, and it was terrible, and it made everything a lot worse. And I did take NyQuil at night, several different nights. That did not cause my hair to start falling out again, and other than that, I've stayed off of the over-the-counter meds. And now I'm just up and down still. I try with the diet, and I can tweak the diet and affect certain symptoms. And so I end up in this perpetual state of, I'll change this about the diet, and this will get better, but this other thing will get worse. And I'll change this about the diet, and I'll get that thing better, but then this other thing that I was first dealing with will get worse. And it's not just two different symptoms going back and forth, but there's a couple of ones that are pretty common and normal for me to keep having problems with, that do keep coming and going. And then there's just tons and tons of symptoms that come and go. So there's always something, and I'm always tweaking my diet, and it's always doing something. So I have, I've just kept trying. I keep trying. And I keep praying. I know God wants me to bring my burdens to Him. I know He cares. I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep praying. And that's where we are, as I wanted to document this. And it hasn't felt like there's a ton to document in some ways, because overall there's not really any trend towards healing or towards everything being fixed. But on the other hand, there's always tons to document that I could get on every day and talk about that day's sinuses, or that day's how are my bowels doing, and all the TMI things. There's a million gross things in the world when you're sick, and I have chosen not to do that, to constantly talk about the exact symptoms. I did, after all these months since summer, I had not done any more fasting, but now I have just now, started up to about an hour or two ago, I have done a 2.5 day dry fast, about 60 hours. I don't think I quite got to the 60 hours mark, but that was sort of what I was aiming at when I thought about breaking it today. And then I got, I don't know, probably within an hour of what would have been 60 hours. So now I have been sipping on water again to break that dry fast. At least when I'm fasting, I can come close to having my mind clear enough to try to communicate. It has in many ways felt better, even though I probably sound totally crazy and rambly still. But dry fasting is a pleasant thing for me in a way, because of how much better my brain functions, at least for certain things, while I'm fasting. So that's a million things I'm trying to ramble about, and now we're up to nearly 15 minutes of this. And it's January 12th, I think, as I'm recording this. Pretty sure it's the 12th. And I've had students today. I have one more student left I'm about to go get here in a moment. And I'm going to keep sipping on water today to get rehydrated. I don't know if I'm going to eat again yet or not, but I'm going to start having fluids again. And I should quit rambling and go get my student. Anyway, God bless y'all. Anybody that's listening, I appreciate you.